Hello, my dear Sapphic story lovers. Here is part 2 of the story. Elin now understands the cost of truth. By the time she speaks it, Lamu is already burning. Not with fire, but with consequence. Chapter 8. Ironically, Lamu came alive that night. The annual cultural festival began with pomp and set the entire waterfront glowing. Lanterns swayed above the streets, drums thumped through the alleys, dancers spun barefoot on the sand. Coconut smoke and spiced cassava thickened the warm air. It should have been a night for celebration, but Elin could barely breathe. Her sponsor had emailed her that afternoon, 3 lines, clipped and cold. We need your initial draft. Focus on the workings of the Dow yards. The development team wants that inside information ASAP. Her stomach had twisted. Their words weren't a request. They were a command. She hadn't replied. And now, walking beside Amina through the festival crowd, Elin felt as if she were carrying a secret that pulsed louder than the Maladai drums. Amina, wrapped in soft blue, moved like the night had made room for her. They watched the Dow races, shared halua from the same plate, stood close enough that every brush of skin felt intentional. But the air between them remained charged. When the fireworks began, silver sparks spilling over the water, Amina spoke softly. Come, follow me. She led Elin through a narrow alley, up weathered stairs, then another flight, until they emerged onto a quiet rooftop lined with lanterns. Below them, Lamu shimmered. Up here, the island fell silent. Elin exhaled. I needed this. Amina studied her. Did you? Something fragile edged her voice. Almost hopeful. Elin nodded, heat pressing behind her ribs. Amina. I need to tell you something. Amina's shoulders lifted. Wary. Elin. Tonight, can we not? It's about the marina. The words spilled out. Amina stiffened. Elin forced the truth out in pieces, guilt slicing every syllable. The sponsor for my trip, the one funding my research, they're connected to the development. Amina's face went utterly still. I didn't know at first, Elin rushed. I swear. And when I found out, when I understood what it meant, I panicked. I didn't know how to tell you. I was afraid of losing. Losing what? The question cracked like wood under pressure. Elin's mouth opened. She had wanted to say you. The word lodged behind her teeth. Amina stepped back, just half a step, but it felt like distance multiplied. So all this time, she said, voice tight, you stood in my workshop. You touched my work. You asked my stories. Her breath hitched. And you were tied to the people who want to destroy it. No. Amina, please listen. You should have told me. Her voice shook. Elin felt the sting of it. I didn't want to hurt you. And yet you did. Silence dropped between them, dense, wounded. Festival music drifted faintly upward. A firework flashed silver across Amina's cheekbone. Elin realized she was trembling. She stepped closer. Amina, look at me. Reluctantly, Amina did. And something inside Elin split open. I didn't betray you, she whispered. I was trying to protect you. Amina laughed softly. Broken. You can't protect me from the truth. She turned away, bracing her hands on the low wall. The lantern beside them swayed, throwing uneven shadows across her shoulders. Elin hovered behind her, close enough to feel her heat, far enough that touching her would be a choice. A dangerous one. I should have told you sooner, Elin said. I know that. I know I hurt you. Her voice wavered. But I'm still here. Doesn't that matter? Amina flinched. You think staying means you choose me, she murmured. It only means you haven't understood what choosing me costs. I'm trying to, Elin said. Tell me. You don't explain fear to someone who hasn't worn it. Silence stretched. Then Elin stepped closer, so close their reflections blurred together in the lantern glass. Their shoulders almost touching. Elin took a few unsteady steps forward. Amina, please. Look at me. I can't. The words were nearly a whisper. Elin's breath caught. Why? Anger is safer, Amina said. Safer than everything else I'm feeling. Amina's lips parted. Her breath caught. Her eyes, God, her eyes betrayed everything she was trying so hard to hide. Elin, she whispered, unsteady, don't. Don't what? Make me say it. Maybe I need to hear it. Something in Amina cracked, so subtle a stranger might miss it. She stepped closer. Elin mirrored her. The moment stretched, not explosive, but devastatingly quiet. A soft collapse of every reason they shouldn't. Amina's fingers twitched, reaching before she could stop herself. And then she exhaled the truth she'd been choking on. It hurt because you matter. The words hung, raw and fragile. That was the break. Amina lifted a hand, slow, reverent, cupping Elin's cheek. Elin. Her voice broke. Elin leaned into the touch. And that's when the kiss happened. Not collided, not forced. But drawn, slow and shaking, like two people stepping off the same cliff. Amina closed the last inch between them. Their mouths met, aching, cautious, breaking open. A kiss born of fear, fury, longing, and the terrible, beautiful truth that they could no longer pretend not to want each other. Not gently, not carefully, but desperately. As if the truth had torn something open they could no longer hold shut. Amina's hands gripped Elin's shoulders, pulling her in with a force that felt like months of suppressed wanting. Elin's fingers slid into her hair, the warmth of her, the scent of wood smoke and sea salt, overwhelming everything else. The kiss was trembling, hungry, aching. The kind of kiss that felt like both a confession and a mistake, a surrender and a warning. Elin felt herself fall into it, into her. Felt Amina kiss her back like she'd been holding her breath for too long. Until, below them, a voice cut through the night. Ayo, we need you tomorrow. Amina froze. Her alias. Her danger. She pulled back so fast the air felt colder. Elin, she said, voice breaking. We both know this cannot last. And for the first time, Elin understood that wanting Amina might cost her the island itself. She reached out. Amina. But Amina stepped away. The lantern flickered between them like a barrier. She didn't look back. Not once. She disappeared down the stairs, moving as if the rooftop itself had betrayed her. Elin stood alone, chest heaving, lips tingling with the memory of a kiss that tasted like both a beginning and an ending. Fireworks burst overhead. But all Elin felt was the echo of Amina's words. This cannot last. And for the first time, Elin feared she might be right. Chapter 9. The morning after the festival tasted like ash. Lamu woke slowly, fishermen pushing off from the jetty, roosters arguing with the call to prayer, children racing down sand-soft alleys. Elin hadn't slept. Not after the kiss. Not after the way Amina stepped back as if touch burned. Not after the words left hanging between them. She walked the shoreline with a notebook she couldn't open. Every few steps, she touched her lips, trying to understand how something that felt like a beginning could taste so much like an ending. Her phone buzzed. Her editor's name flaring across the screen. She should ignore it. She didn't. Because guilt makes cowards out of all of us. Elin? Finally, her editor says. I need more. The architecture angle is fine, but this rumor about a woman in the boatyards? Working under a male alias? That's the story. Elin's breath stops. I never confirmed that, she says. You don't need to. Dig around. People talk. Hidden craft, gender tension, this thing writes itself. Elin presses her palm against cool coral stone. This woman could secure your next grant, the editor continues. Get names. Details. I want a full profile. I can't do that, Elin whispers. You can. And you will. The call ends. But her world doesn't. Behind her, a shadow shifts. Amina stands at the alley's mouth, expression carved from something harder than last night's softness. There is no trace of the trembling rooftop kiss, no echo of the way her hands had hovered at Elin's waist as if afraid and wanting all at once. I heard you, she says. Elin's blood runs cold. Is it true? Amina asks quietly. Is someone paying you to look into me? Elin could end it now. She doesn't. It's complicated, she whispers. Amina exhales. That is not an answer. She turns away. By evening, the whispers begin. The journalist. She's asking questions. And each rumor slices deeper. That night, Elin stands outside her guest house, her editor's message glowing on the screen. Find her. She deletes nothing. Confesses nothing. Oh, Amina, she whispers. I'm so sorry. But the wind carries her apology away before anyone can hear it. Chapter 10. The morning breaks wrong. Not quiet wrong. Storm wrong. The kind of charged silence that coastal elders claim the sea itself can feel before disaster. Amina feels it instantly. She stands in the Dow workshop, chisel in hand, the air metallic. Behind her, apprentices' murmurs cut low and sharp. Someone reported her. They said inspectors are coming. No, the county officers, not the heritage ones. I heard it's about permits. I heard it's about her. Shortly, a shout cracks the morning. Open the gate. 5 inspectors surge in. Authority that doesn't care about craft, only paperwork. This is an enforcement visit. They fan out. Tools are lifted. Notes taken. This isn't random, Amina realizes. This is a targeted raid. Your name, an inspector demands. Amina. And your registered position? Silence. According to the registry, he says, this station belongs to a Yusuf. Male. Her blood freezes. My name is Amina Yusuf, she says steadily. I sign as a Yusuf because your system does not allow me to exist. Shock ripples. Jabir, one of the craftsmen, steps forward. She deceived us, he says. She took opportunities under false registration. The betrayal cuts deeper than the accusation. Her ads, her mother's ads, is lifted, tagged. Operations are suspended. The gate locked. When the officers leave, Amina stands shaking in the wreckage. Her tools gone. Her secret exposed. And then Elin appears. So it's true, Amina says. You came here on their money. I didn't know, Elin pleads. You didn't ask. Please. Stay away from me. The gate slams shut between them. Heavy. Final. The echo carries through the alleys like a verdict. And the sea does nothing to hide its fury. Chapter 11. The bulldozer arrives at dawn. Yellow. Blunt. Indifferent. Everyone on the island understands what bulldozers mean. Amina watches from a coral-walled alley, hands hanging useless at her sides. The yard is sealed now. Padlocks, yellow tape, signs that indicate that the site is under investigation. Her mother's ads is gone. Her station is gone. The name she hid behind is gone. And Elin. She does not let herself finish the thought. Rage was easier. Rage had edges. This quiet had none. Both women move through different parts of Lamu like ghosts, past alleys that remember them, rooftops that once held their breath, waters that no longer feel safe. Across the island, Elin packs slowly. Not because she has much, but because moving carefully feels like the last mercy she can still offer herself. Her editor's messages stack unanswered. Her laptop glows with an empty page. Every sentence she comes up with feels like betrayal. Every silence like cowardice. Near sunset, the draft article stares back at her. Title: The Woman in the Dow Yard. She deletes the subtitle. Writes another. Deletes that too. Her hands shake. I don't know how to fix this, she whispers. She closes the laptop. Outside, the sea is pulled back. Low tide. Exposing everything buried beneath the surface. And for the first time since arriving in Lamu, Elin understands what comes next. Not silence. Not distance. Not another half-truth dressed as restraint. She knows that something must be said. And that this time, it will cost her everything. Chapter 12. Elin does not sleep. Not because she tosses or weeps into the sheets, but because this moment requires stillness. She sits at the small wooden desk, laptop open once more, ocean wind tugging at the curtains as if trying to pull her out of herself. The cursor blinks on a blank page. The island hums around her, dhows creaking, dogs barking, waves folding into themselves. Lamu breathes as it always has. But Elin is changing. She looks at the blank page and begins. A special report by Elin Lindstrom. Title: Salt and Sand, The Hands That Remember the Sea. The title lands with weight. She writes slowly at first. A brief history of Lamu, its context, colonial legacies, maritime inheritance. She writes about the boatyards as living archives, where memory is carried in hands, not books. Then she writes what she has seen, what she learned, what she broke. The corruption follows clean, precise. Sponsorship contracts, private memos, shell companies, a marina disguised as progress. Names, dates, evidence. She does not hold back. But when she reaches the human cost, her breath falters. This is the craftswoman, the one she loves, the one she must protect. She types carefully. There are artisans, unsung, unheard, whose knowledge is inherited, fragile, irreplaceable. To name them would endanger them. To expose them would end their craft. But their existence is not a myth. I have seen their hands, their precision, their brilliance, their grief. She does not use the word woman. She does not use hidden. She does not reveal Amina's name. But she tells the truth. She writes until dawn stains the sky pink. The article ends with a plea. If the world allows this craft to vanish, it will not be the sea that forgets us. We will have forgotten ourselves. Elin presses publish. And the truth is free. 20 minutes later, the world ignites. Notifications stack. Messages flood. Her editor calls again and again. She ignores everyone. By midday, the story has spread. Across Kenyan's Twitter accounts, across heritage networks, coastal WhatsApp groups, and environmental forums. The hashtag Save Lamu Yards trends. By afternoon, the developers issue a statement. Construction will pause pending review. They don't want to stop. They are forced to. The bulldozers fall silent. Elin steps outside. The wind no longer feels hostile. Somewhere on the island, she knows. Amina might see the article. Chapter 13. Amina sits in her mother's courtyard, phone trembling in her hand. She reads every word. Then again. Elin's writing is clean, sharp, relentless. She lays out the corruption with surgical precision. The under-the-table deals. The pressure campaigns. The manufactured violations. The bulldozers waiting like wolves in heat. But it's the quieter lines that stop Amina cold, the ones that feel like someone looking directly at her. Some crafts are not professions, they are inheritances. There are artisans who carry history in their hands, even when the world tries to take their tools from them. When she reaches the part about the hands that remember the sea, her breath catches. She knows those hands. She knows Elin saw them. And she knows Elin protected her. Even after everything. She wants to be angry. She should be angry. Elin brought the raid down on her life, knowingly or not. Elin had a sponsor tied to the marina. Elin kept secrets. But anger refuses to come cleanly. It tangles with something softer. Something she's been trying to smother since the balcony. Her eyes sting. She blinks hard, but the tears rise anyway. This is not an apology. It is more dangerous. It is a choice. But standing here in the ruins of her craft, reading words that feel like a hand reaching across a chasm, she feels everything all at once. The betrayal. The longing. The stupid, persistent shard of hope still lodged inside her. She swipes at her cheeks with the heel of her hand, as if she can force herself back into the shape of someone stronger. Later, Amina stands inside the yard. It looks smaller now. Vacant. Her last boat rests slanted on its supports, damaged but upright. Salvageable, she murmurs. She finds one remaining tool. Kneels. Breathes in. And begins. The first scrape is rough. The next smoother. Her hands remember. The silence changes from loss to work beginning again. Alone. But not broken. Chapter 14. She doesn't hear footsteps at first. Only when the gate creaks does she stop. She looks up. Elin stands there. Shoulders tense. Eyes tired. Clothes still dusty. She looks like someone who has been walking for hours even though the island is small. For a moment, Amina can't speak. The yard holds its breath with her. Amina. Her voice is soft, roughened by everything she has not slept off. Amina sets her tool down, but she doesn't rise. She wipes her hands on her trousers once, a nervous, grounding gesture. Elin tries again. I needed to see you. Elin swallows. I know I have no right to ask for that. After what happened. After what I didn't tell you. Amina's joy tightens. The hurt is still there. The betrayal. The fear. And yet, there's space around it now. A small space, but space. She waits. Elin steps closer, stopping at the bow of the boat. She kneels too, mirroring Amina without fully meaning to. It puts them side by side, not touching, but close enough to feel the heat from each other's skin. Her voice is almost a whisper. I lost everything except the truth. Amina listens. Elin continues, words trembling but steady. My sponsor pulled out. My editor dropped me. I don't have a next assignment. Or a way to fix the mess I made. She breathes in, shaky. But I told the truth. For once. And I'd do it again. Even if it cost me all of this. Amina studies her. Not leaning in. Not looking away. She sees the exhaustion under Elin's eyes. The bruised confidence. The fear trying to hide behind resolve. And something in her softens. Just a little. You put a target on my back. I know. Elin closes her eyes. I know. And I'm sorry. Not in the way people say it to end a fight. I mean, I'm sorry the way you say it when you know the damage can't be undone. A long silence folds between them. The kind that lets truth settle. Amina finally exhales. Slow. Tired. Then she reaches for the hull. Her fingers press gently against the cracked curve. This boat won't survive if I do it alone, she says. Elin opens her eyes. Looks at her. Tell me what you need. Amina hesitates. Hope flickers, cautious and fragile. Then help me finish, she says. It isn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it's a door. And it's open. Amina hands her a sanding block. Their fingers brush a small, electric touch, more powerful for how accidental it feels. Elin takes it with both hands. They stand beside each other, shoulder to shoulder in the warm morning light. No explanations. No promises. Just work. The scrape of sandpaper joins the scrape of the plane. A rough, uneven rhythm at first. Then, slowly, their motions align. Two sets of hands on one wounded hull. Two breaths returning to the same pace. The tide shifts in the distance. The world keeps moving. And inside the battered yard, something broken begins to hold shape again. Chapter 15. The next day, Amina stands at the gate as three officials from the Cultural Preservation Board approach. Their pressed shirts and clipboards feel foreign here, too clean for a yard that smells of salt and old wood. The lead inspector clears his throat. We've completed our review. Amina doesn't speak. She keeps her hands folded loosely in front of her, as she's learned to do when power is passing judgment. The marina expansion is halted, he says. Effective immediately. Pending further inquiry into Nordum Holdings and its local affiliates. A breath leaves her slow, measured. Not relief yet. Not celebration. Just the release of something she's been holding since the first padlock snapped shut. Then he looks directly at her. And your work, he adds. Your craftsmanship. He glances down at his notes, as if choosing his words carefully. It has been documented in the report. Another pause. By name. The words land with weight. For years, Amina worked without signatures, without plaques, without public credit. Her boats sailed without her name following them, known by feel, by balance, by reputation whispered between craftsmen. Now, Amina bint Qasim, the inspector says. Her name stands in the morning air unchallenged. The officials nod once and turn back toward the street, their footsteps fading into the hum of the island. Silence returns, but it's different now. Not the silence of erasure. The silence after something has been set right. One by one, the artisans approach. Master Baraka stops a few paces away. His voice is rough, careful, as if he's afraid to disturb what's just been restored. We didn't see it, he says. What you were holding together. A man from the carving shed steps forward. You kept the old ways. Another adds quietly, when the rest of us let them slip. No speeches. No long apologies. Just recognition. Amina nods once. She still can't speak. Not without breaking something open. Elin stands nearby, present, unobtrusive. She doesn't reach for Amina, doesn't claim space that isn't hers. But when Amina glances back, Elin meets her eyes and holds them. Steady. Certain. Here. Amina's latest dhow waits at the edge of the sand, repaired and ready. She steps toward it. Elin, she says, her voice settled now. Hold the stern. Elin doesn't hesitate. The artisans form a loose circle, not as judges this time, but as witnesses to the work. All right, Amina says. Let's take her home. Together, they guide the boat forward towards the shallow waters. Sand shifts. Water answers. The tide receives the hull. No cheers. Just low murmurs. Approval settling into place like a tide turning. Amina watches the dhow float free. She quickly jumps in and anchors it in the shallow waters. Her name has returned to her. Later that day, the sea is calm. Amina stands at the water's edge, one hand resting on the finished hull, checking the lines, the balance, everything she would trust her life to. Elin stands beside her, close, not claiming. Close enough that their shoulders brush when the breeze shifts. Neither speaks. This is not ceremony. It's a test. The dhow bobs on water that now knows it. Amina steps aboard, steady and practiced, taking her out alone for the first short run. Just far enough to feel the hull answer, just long enough to be sure. Before Amina pushes the boat off, their hands meet briefly. Deliberately. Not a secret. Not a performance. A decision. The sail lifts. Behind them a little further inland, two apprentices watch. A woman, one whispers. The other shakes his head, smiling. A master. The dhow turns toward open water. Amina adjusts the rudder. The boat answers her, sure and alive beneath her hands. Elin watches from shore as the silhouette cuts cleanly across the afternoon light. Strong. Enduring. Alive. The island breathes. The sea holds. And softly, barely louder than the wind, Elin whispers, "We begin again."
Liked this? Every heartbeat in Africa tells a story. Subscribe to feel it.